Good morning. And welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am the Reverend Dana Warsnott, minister of this congregation, and I greet the good people here in the sanctuary and all those who are out joining us via Zoom or YouTube. Welcome, welcome all. It is good to be with you again. All who have been part of this congregation for decades, and some who have been or part of this congregation for just a few weeks, and some who may be for just a few seconds at this point. Our theme for September has been belonging, and on this day we celebrate the Jewish High Holy Days, which begin at sundown tonight with Rosh Hashanah. This is a time to seek and offer forgiveness for past hurts, a practice that can bring us together more closely, reminding us that we are not really whole without one another. It is our regular practice at each service to acknowledge that the lands we dwell upon are still the unceded territory of the Chumash people. Though the taking of their lands happened centuries ago, acknowledging the truth of this theft can be a step toward making all our lives on this land more whole. Three announcements this morning. First, there will be an informational meeting here in the sanctuary at 11:30 to share more information about the recent resignation of our Director of Religious Education. We have been in this hybrid world trying very hard to answer questions and let people know as much as we can about what transpired to bring this about. And we know that there are people who still feel like they don't know what they want to know, and we are trying to do more about that. Secondly, the auction, our deadline for submitting items to the auction that is coming up on the 22nd, is next Sunday. So you have a whole week to still donate things. We currently have 73 items submitted, which is a little more than half of what we had last year. And this last week is, I know, the time everybody remembers. Oh yeah, I had that thing. So we have this week to match or surpass that number. And just to let you know of a few things that are already submitted, there is a pearl and diamond necklace, which sounds very intriguing. There is also a Cinco de Mayo celebration, which will be a dinner that you get to taste 5 homemade mayos. Cinco de Mayo. There is plastic model building lessons and music under the stars in Camarillo, and a whole lot of chocolate. And more chocolate would be just fine. And if you have gift cards that you never used and you just want to donate them, we're looking for those too. And finally, we have an announcement that I'm invited David Henkel to make for us.
Is it on? Yeah. There we go. As Dana said, I'm David Henkel. We have formed recently what we call a RE Advisory Council. And the members consist of Krista Mendelson, Kimberly Prieto, Eric Duffy, Lori Lemson, Paul Grabowski, Francesca Ferrara, and myself. And so RE families will be hearing from someone in that group to answer some questions. We have a questionnaire, and we're going to reach out to everyone, hopefully by telephone. We're getting a little tired of email. In addition, I'd like to announce that everyone is invited to join the community in the parking lot on October 2nd, that's next Sunday, at 11:30 for a barbecue in celebration of our youth and families as we restart religious education. Our theme remains play, ritual, and connection. If you would like to serve our families for this event, and you're not one of those families, please let me know. My number is 805-794, I'm in the directory, 2147. Sometimes that works better than email. We will be serving hamburgers, hot dogs, and vegan burgers with all the fixings, as well as side dishes, including a vegan chili. If you can, please bring your own service to limit our impact on the environment. And that is it. Hope to see you there next Sunday.
Oh, David, you forgot the bouncy house.
Oh, I wasn't sure that was finished.
Oh. There may be a bouncy house.
Or two.
Or two. Let us arrive fully together from wherever you are joining this service. Bring all of yourself to this place. Your shortcomings, your doubts, your gifts, your blessings, your yearning, your fears, your grace. All of it as we enter sacred space.
I am Worship Associate Sue Brinkmeyer, and we invite all of you who are streaming or Zooming into this service to light a chalice or a candle at home as Reverend Dana lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. We begin our service this morning with Let Go by Reverend Lois van Lear. Let go of all that binds you, of all that burdens you, of what you carry, of all that shames you, of fear, of trespasses and transgressions, of woundedness. Let go of guilt. Let go of anger. Let go of small-mindedness and pettiness, of ways of being that no longer work for you, of compulsions that consume your living. Let go of what you cannot change. Let go of regret, of that which haunts you. Let go of pain. Let go of ways in which you missed the mark. Let go. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, and welcome everyone here in the sanctuary and at home online. My name is Carolyn Bierke. I'm the music director, and I'd like to invite you all to join me in singing our opening hymn, Return Again. Please rise in body or spirit. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Let's do it one more time. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Return again to the home of your soul, to who and what you are, to where you are, born and reborn again. This is the movement of turning and returning to life and love, truth and depth, to forgive and to be forgiven, and in that to be born whole again. This is the soul movement and the renewal offered in the Jewish High Holy Days. 10 days of awe, which begin at sunset tonight with Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. A New Year's celebration that is then followed by 10 days of deep reflection, fasting, and prayer. 10 awe-filled days which end on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. As metaphor would have it, God opens the book of life on Rosh Hashanah, and Jews have 10 days to reflect, to make amends for misdeeds and transgressions, to forgive and be forgiven. And then on the final holiest day, Yom Kippur, God decides which names to inscribe in the book of life for another year. And then the book is sealed. The greeting on Rosh Hashanah is Shana Tova. May you have a good and sweet new year. On Yom Kippur, Jews say to one another, Gamar Hatama Tova. May you be inscribed in the book of life. So we got 10 days. And you might ask, what is so very inspiring about them? It sounds actually kind of frightening in some ways. And there is, to be sure, a seriousness to this time that is also, though, filled with such possibility. None of us are perfect. We mess up regularly. I would posit on a daily basis, an hourly basis, in one way or another. Yet, as civil rights leader Brian Stevenson says, we are all more than the worst thing that we ever did. And High Holy Days can give us a chance to acknowledge our transgressions, major and minor, and to begin again in love. These days of awe open the possibilities of forgiveness, forgiving others, being forgiven, and opening to living in wholeness, and opening to grace, a grace that can hold all. And so may we open our hearts to this holy tradition that is also ours, entered into with respect and love.
Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our own church. Those at home can give through the link posted in the chat or by texting from your phone to 844-901-1779. Folks here in the sanctuary can also text to give, or you can still write a check and then drop it in the basket at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Our offering today goes to World Food Program to provide emergency food supplies that are desperately needed now due to the war in Ukraine. The photos on our slide show a cargo of high-energy biscuits for Ukrainian refugees being offloaded at an airport in Poland, and a World Food Program worker meeting with a young Ukrainian girl at a food distribution center. There are dwindling food supplies in embattled areas of Ukraine, and other parts of the world are suffering because the war has disrupted grain shipments. Before the conflict, the World Food Program purchased from Ukraine half of the wheat that it sent to feed hungry people in countries such as Yemen, Ethiopia, and Syria. Now that that grain is not available in the amounts that it once was, shipments just beginning again now, prices have hit unprecedented highs worldwide, and more people are going to bed hungry. Help is urgently needed. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do.
Dear congregation, I would like to present to you the return of our beloved choir. Woohoo! We've been back in bits and pieces, but this is the official return after COVID. Our song today is Hashivenu, and the song is a traditional High Holy Day song and comes from the Book of Lamentations. The English translation from Hebrew is turn us back, O Lord, to you. And we will turn, and we will turn, renew our days as before, invoking again the movement of turning and returning to forgiveness and grace.
We are ever and always grateful for the generosity of this congregation, which so shows up in so many ways, including the generosity of the voices in our choir. That is so good to be together with you here in this space again as we weave the tapestry of love that we call community.
Now is the time in our service when we hold up the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. It's our custom to place stones in water for both the celebrations and sorrows in our hearts, making ripples that mimic the way each is felt throughout our community. You can submit a joy or sorrow via a link on the website, uuventura.org, or in UUCV This Week, our Thursday email bulletin. Those received by 10 o'clock Saturday will be shared that Sunday morning. Though there were no joys or sorrows shared this week, I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write in the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the healing, loving embrace of this beloved community. Please feel free to continue to write in the chat after the silent pause has ended. Reverend Dana will now place a stone into the water for all the joys just shared and those that remain unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
In anticipation of Rosh Hashanah at sunset, we offer a reading in two voices to prepare ourselves for the turning that it asks of us.
Our reading this morning is At One by Reverend Victoria Safford.
Imagine this. On the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, every fall, every year, the people make their peace with anyone they have wronged or slighted or injured, or in any way neglected in the past 12 months. The task is not to patch things up, smooth things over, reach a compromise, or sweep mistakes and uneasy memories under the rug. The task is not to feel better. The task is ownership. The goal is truth for its own redemptive sake. I did this. I said this to you, and it was wrong. I neglected this, I botched this, I betrayed you thusly. I demeaned you, whether you ever knew it or not. This is the truth in which both of us are living. I ask you to forgive me.
Imagine how many deep breaths you would need to take. Imagine how many doors you would have to knock on, how many phone calls you'd have to make, how many letters, how many lunches and coffees, how many awkward moments with your children and your parents and strangers, that cashier to whom you spoke so sharply. Awkward is irrelevant. The task is not about comfort. It is about truth, about wholeness and holiness, restoration.
Imagine this. Someone has preparing all year to speak with you, to write to you, to ask you a hard question. Perhaps in some way not quite conscious, you have even known this and have been preparing too. Finally, you answer the door or the phone or open the letter with shaky hands. And there it is, what you thought you'd been longing for but really have dreaded. Someone is asking your forgiveness. The task is not about comfort, it is about truth. Awkward is irrelevant. You get to choose now. You have to choose whether and how you will participate in restoration. Abandon the pleasant piety that claims knee-jerk forgiveness. You get to choose which way will be right in this case, between you as persons and with all your gods. What response will make the world more whole?
Something yearns in us to come out right. Something creaky, rusty, heavy, almost calcified within us tries, in spite of us and all our fears and self-deceptions, to turn and turn and creak and turn again and come round a little truer. Something in us stretches toward conversion. Imagine healing wholly from within.
One of the great gifts my mentor, the Reverend Rob Eller Isaacs, gave to our faith tradition is a litany of atonement for our own High Holy Days service. Rob's parents were Jewish, though they began attending the First Unitarian Church of Chicago when he was a child. He always blended his Jewish heritage and perspective into his ministry. And while I had long felt a resonance with Judaism, mostly through my Jewish family and friends, Rob helped me enter into the spiritual depth of Judaism as I explored Unitarian Universalism early on. In just a bit, we are going to sing a hymn that was inspired by that litany of atonement. The hymn is a little different than what we used in worship at the First Unitarian Church of Oakland, where Rob served as minister and helped with his wife Jan, helped call me into the ministry. And Rob would ask us to get into pairs, sometimes with a dear friend or family member, and sometimes with a complete stranger. Rob would read the first line of the litany, which we will do shortly, for remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. Our response to each other was, I forgive myself, I forgive you, let us begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, for falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, for losing sight of our unity, and so on, I forgive myself. I forgive you. Let us begin again in love. Depending on who your partner was, this could be intimate, or awkward, or both. and almost always powerful. To begin with forgiving myself for the times that I strayed from my values, the times I was unkind or selfish. I forgive myself. Forgive myself. Honestly, I did not know how all those years ago, and sometimes, many times, I still don't know how, and yet I try. Yet in this litany, then come the healing words. I forgive you, offered to the partner, received from the partner. My father was once visiting on the Sunday of our High Holy Day service, and I did this litany with my arm around his waist and his around mine. I forgive myself. I forgive you. Let us begin again in love. That was surely something. It was differently powerful with a stranger. What did they know of my faults and transgressions? What did I know of theirs? And yet we could still offer each other forgiveness, and we could begin again in love. With love in our lives, love for those so close to us, love for a complete stranger, suddenly become a neighbor. In order to turn this litany into a melodic line, our song response today is we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. That music flows and carries us along through the litany. And I invite you to choose a partner to sing with if you would like, and if one is near and willing. Or think of a particular way, perhaps, that you need to be forgiven, a particular person you need to forgive, and take the time to reflect upon that relationship. How do you, how can you forgive yourself? How do you, how can you forgive another? How will you begin again in love? When we are done singing, I will ring the bell to carry us into a silent meditation, holding that sense of forgiveness for yourself, for others, and how that turning through forgiveness again into love.
So please remain seated as we sing We Begin Again in Love in response to Reverend Dana's and Sue's words. I'm going to sing it one time through so you can hear how it goes. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Let's try it one time together. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For losing sight of our unity.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
These high holy days are a time for atonement, a time to acknowledge the good and the bad within each of us and give it up to forgiveness. The movement of these holy days is a turning and a returning. To forgive and be forgiven is perhaps the highest and holiest and most religious human endeavor. It brings us back to our true home, to our true and whole selves. Within these 10 high holy days before us, there is an opportunity to turn, a great turning, a simple turning. The first turning is to let go of burdens, of shame you carry, the woundedness inside, the ways of being that no longer serve. Let go the haunting regrets. The first turning is to forgive yourself. Yet, which is harder for you? To forgive yourself or forgive another? For that is the next turning. In our current times, fractious and unsettled times, these days can offer a space for considering more deeply how what we do affects others. The poet Alice Walker tells us that love is only concerned that the beating of your heart should kill no one. Yet sometimes just being alive with all our good intention can cause harm. The great turning we are in as a culture asks us to consider not just our intentions. It asks us to think beyond them as well. Intentions, which I honestly believe are mostly good most of the time for almost all of us. Yet we are fully human, and that means we make many, many, many mistakes. Over and over and over again, even though we swear we won't do that one again. Most of them are really kind of small. And then there are, of course, the occasional whoppers. I often invite the fullness of your humanity, of all our humanity, to the table of this faith tradition. Bring it all. Your gifts, your foibles, your ignorance, your seeking to know more, all of it. Your mistakes, your shortcomings, your glorious self. The goal is not perfection. It's just wrong. The goal is not perfection. That's an impossibility in the strictest sense. The goal is not perfection. The goal is wholeness. And being whole means acknowledging the ways we fall short, miss the mark as individuals and as a community. Being whole means that we need to consider not just our intention, but also the impact of our words and deeds. It's the difference between the non-apologies we often hear from people accused of some transgression or another. I'm sorry if anyone was offended. I didn't mean it that way. Or I'm sorry you were hurt. I'm sorry if you were hurt, that was not my intention. It takes just a small but huge turn to make all the difference. I'm so sorry I hurt you. Full stop. Listen. Be open to what happens next. Yes, good intentions matter. Yet, the impact of what we do matters just as much, and wholeness asks that we consider it all. And this is a serious undertaking. No wonder it takes a whole 10 days in the Jewish calendar. For this movement, this turning, we are entertaining, opening ourselves to, as Victoria Safford writes, it is not meant to patch things up, smooth things over, or sweep mistakes and uneasy memories under the rug. The task is not to feel better, at least at first. The task is ownership, The goal is truth for its own redemptive sake. I did this, I said this to you, I ask you to forgive me. It's not about comfort, it is about truth, about wholeness and holiness, restoring a wholeness to the self, to the relationship, sometimes to a whole community. What would it mean to feel whole in your human self in this community? Even as we seek wholeness, it will never be a finished state in your own human self or in this community. These 10 days of awe are about reflecting backward and forward, trying to heal past hurts, let go of old burdens, and move into a new year, renewed, reborn, made more whole, just a little bit more whole, I hope. And when the book of life is closed for another year, which will happen metaphorically in 10 days, when that happens, we will soon return to making more missteps, falling short, needing forgiveness, and needing to forgive. It is the way of being human in the world. And yet, may these 10 days remind us of the possibility and grace of living into and with wholeness. For something does yearn to come round right. Something creaky, rusty, heavy tries within us, in spite of us and all our fears and self-deceptions, which are multitude. It tries to turn and creak and turn again and come round a little truer. Imagine, just imagine healing completely, wholly from within. None of us are the worst thing we have ever done. None of us are comprised solely of even the whole mass of the little things that we do that we wish we could take back. We are so full of magnificence and glory and beauty and possibility. Possibility for so much, for healing and wholeness and forgiveness and being forgiven. And this congregation, here in this congregation, we are in the good company of people yearning for that wholeness, for ourselves and for the world. May we find the forgiveness we need to ask and to offer. The grace we need, the grace we can give as we begin again in love. Amen. May it be so.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. It this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change of life from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Please join me in prayer. Holy beingness of many names and no name, holy turning toward forgiveness and grace, Spirit of life, which dwells within and among and beyond us this day and always. Oh, how shall we be known? May we be known as a people of love, a people of grace, a people of care, who care for each other, who care for themselves, who care for this community, who care for all the people on the planet, who care for all the planet, this earth we share. May we be known as a people who own our mistakes, who seek to learn more when harm is brought to our attention, who seek with humility to learn and grow. May we be known as a people who forgive and ask forgiveness. May we be known, may we be a people known for the company we keep, for the community we create, and for the grace that arises in that loving, failing, loving, stumbling, loving again community. May our hearts go out to all the people of Iran as they protest oppression and government cruelty. May our hearts hold the people who have been and will yet be in the path of hurricanes. And may all those who are ill find healing. May those who are in despair find hope. May those who are without shelter find home. And may all those suffering conflict and war, may we find peace. Amen. And blessed be.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in our closing hymn, "'Tis a Gift to be Simple." "'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right.
Please join me in reading the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Before the benediction and postlude, I invite all the people who are on Zoom to enter breakout rooms, turn on your screen, see who's there, and share a little of your lives with one another. And if you here in the sanctuary have cash or checks for the offering, please drop them off in the basket at the back of the sanctuary over in that corner. And also, I do invite everyone who's here in the sanctuary to head right on outside, have some coffee and conversation, then come back inside where we will have the informational gathering at 11:30. Those in breakout rooms, this will be also on Zoom, and we will, so come on back at 11:30. We'll close the breakout rooms. You can come to the conversation. It'll also be recorded, so for people who can't do either, be here or on Zoom. I leave you with these words from the poet Marilyn Robertson. Possibilities. A teacher sits down at the feet of her students. Singing is heard in an abandoned village. Food is brought to a prisoner on a white plate. A soldier rests beside a pool of water lilies. An abyss becomes a table. The loaf and fish recreate their famous miracle. The white-haired hero reads a poem. The grieving mother prays for her son's killer. One person does not seek revenge. The next day, another person does the same. May we each be that next person who makes the world more whole. Go forth in love. Go forth in peace. Shana Tova, Gamar Hatima Tova, may you be inscribed in the book of life. May it be so.